What's the deal with the television show So Weird? Hey everyone, this is actually a real question that I wanted to pose. Does anyone remember the show So Weird? I do, and for years, I've always wondered why the show wasn't more popular. I started watching it when I was around 7 or 8, and I would always be thinking about it over the years because it was on Disney Channel, and Disney never aired any reruns of it after around 2003 or 2004. It was almost impossible to find online. And then when you found it online, it would be taken down pretty quickly after. The most unsettling thing about it was for me the fact that throughout the years, I would talk to people about other shows from my childhood that I liked, whether it would be Hey Arnold or Lizzie McGuire, and everyone would know and remember those shows. And then I would mention So Weird, and a lot of people didn't remember it. And it got to the point where I began to think that I was either getting the name of this show totally wrong, or I was just kind of piecing together different elements of different shows into this one hyper wonderful show to make So Weird, kind of like a mandala effect. And it wasn't until I was in my mid 20s that I looked up So Weird on the internet and I found that it's not the mandala effect. The show actually exists. In my opinion, So Weird is one of the most underrated shows that Disney ever made. The best way I can describe So Weird is as X-Files for kind of young teenagers. I started watching it when I was about 7 or 8, which I think was a little younger than its target demographic. Um, but I recently saw that So Weird was added to Disney Plus. So I'm going to start watching the show again, and I'm really excited about it, but I wanted to record this prior to me watching it to just kind of talk about my thoughts for what this show is about. Um, that theme song is absolutely amazing. And I remember that theme song because one, it's great. And another reason why I remembered it is because it was created by Mackenzie Phillips. Mackenzie Phillips is also a main character in the show. She played the main protagonist's mom. And I know in a lot of shows they can include musical numbers or just full musical episodes, and the shows can be pretty cringy. But in this show, one of the things I remember most is that the the main characters are on tour because the mom has a band, and they will kind of burst into song randomly at different intervals during the show, but it was never cringy or weird. It sounded great because it was this actual professional singer singing these songs, and I just remember it being wonderful. Another thing I remember about the show is the main protagonist. Her name is Fiona, and I remember her being older than myself, but she was very into tech things, and she used a computer and she had a laptop. And I remember that was really intriguing to me because my family didn't even have a computer yet, and computers and technology like that was still very new, at least kind of for like a mainstream audience. So I remember that being extremely interesting to me to see, especially a female protagonist using all this tech equipment, and she built her own website. So if I'm remembering correctly, Fiona narrates every episode, and she will kind of explain a superstition or a myth or something spooky because she's covering it all for this blog that she has, which is called So Weird. I think it might be called something else, like Fiona's blog of weird events or something to that effect. Um, and each episode kind of will introduce a topic, and such as I remember in one episode there was a person who said that they were like a medium and they could connect with spirits. And then he turned out to be a fake medium, and it caused like all of this hoopla. So I remember that episode particularly because it was so creepy. The third thing I remember about the show was it just seemed to fit in so well with the time period. I remember that one of the main characters is played by Eric Von Detten, who I think everyone kind of my age group, maybe around 25 to 30, loved Eric Von Detten. He was in Brink, which was another great Disney Channel movie. He was also in The Princess Diaries. He was just a really interesting, cool guy, and he was in the show. And he was the son of the bandmates or the band people who worked with the band. And a lot of the show took place on the tour bus. So the third thing I remember about the show was that they were able to cover a lot of different places on the show because they usually weren't sedentary or stationary. They were driving always on this tour bus. They would always get to weird abandoned towns or towns that had like weird things happening with it. And usually each episode would be Fiona, the main character, would explain kind of a myth or a weird unexplained phenomena, and the her family would kind of tell her that she was kind of thinking like up in the clouds and whatnot, but her mom was really supportive of her blog and of her pursuits. And then typically Fiona would be right, and something would creepy would be happening in the town, and everyone would be like, "Oh, Fiona, you're right." The fourth thing I remember about this show was that the family situation was a little different than a typical show. It was not a nuclear family. One thing, they lived on a tour bus, and the main family, which is Fiona, her brother Jack, and their mom, who's played by Mackenzie Phillips, they lived on the tour bus with their other family, who were like I think the band manager. I can't quite remember. Um, but their father, I believe, has passed away. Fiona's dad has passed away, and then that's actually a big thing that happens in the show. I guess this is technically a spoiler if you haven't seen it, though it did come out, like over 20 years ago. Um, but you find out that Fiona's dad kind of died of mysterious circumstances, and he was kind of involved in this mysterious realm as well. He believed in ghosts, demons, that kind of like mythical type subjects that Fiona really likes. So I remember things kind of got progressively scarier as the show went on. There's this one episode that I'm most looking forward to watching where Fiona is able to communicate with her father through, I don't remember if it's like a crystal ball or there's some device that she's able to communicate with her dad through, but the device gets destroyed and she's really distraught. And I remember this episode being very tense and scary, especially for like a 10-year-old. But it was really, really well done. The fifth thing I remember about this show is that this show is 3 seasons long, and at the end of the second season, the main character, Fiona, leaves the show. And I remember being very upset about this, and she was replaced by this other actress and another character entirely. And I think it was indicated that Fiona was going to live with other family, or I think she was going to college or something around that vein. And I remember the third season not being as dark and not so much focused on like ghosts and demons, and more so other types of uh, mystical things. And I also remember that the main character they replaced Fiona with had a vision of a panther. Well, those were my thoughts and recollections about So Weird. If you remember this show at all, I would love for you to comment on this video. I have really never met in my life another person who remembers the show, so I'm hoping that more people get into it now that Disney Plus has added it. And I hope to periodically check in about this show and do maybe reaction videos or something similar, just because I am very excited to finally watch the show again after um, almost 20 years of not seeing it. So thanks for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye.